After my boyfriend lost his memory, he forgot he wasn't straight. I rushed to the hospital ward and heard his angry voice. What boyfriend? I'm straight. There's no way I'd ever date a man. The door swung open, and our eyes met. He froze on the spot, words dying on his lips. Flushing red, he stammered, You're my boyfriend. I gave him a faint smile. No. I brought him home and told him we were just roommates. Yet he started chasing after me on his own, convinced he was a secret lover. In the dark, he tried to seduce me. Did I do well? Leave him and be with me instead. I blew out a smoke ring and chuckled. No. I only love my boyfriend. If he finds out about you, I'll have no choice but to leave you. Sulking, he muttered, Then I'd better be your only side lover. I had just gotten off work when I received a call from my boyfriend's brother. My boyfriend was in the hospital. I hurriedly asked, How is he? Joshua hesitated. Don't worry, he's awake. A basketball hit him, just a concussion, but it seems like he's forgotten you. Forgotten me? I rushed to the hospital. Just as I reached the door of his ward, I heard Michael's raised voice. What boyfriend? I'm straight as steel. Don't joke with me about that crap. Even if I die right here, I would never date a man. Joshua's dry voice followed. Sure, amnesia makes you bold. Forgotten all those years of being someone's dog. Get lost. I would never like a man. Don't disgust me. From the sound of it, he really had forgotten me. And now he even found me disgusting. I pushed open the half-closed door. Michael sat on the bed, his black hair falling messily across his forehead, brows furrowed. His whole posture careless yet unruly. The moment he saw me, though, he fell silent. The irritation froze on his face, and his eyes widened. It reminded me of the first time we met, back in that bar. He had been sitting alone at the counter, drinking by himself, out of place among the crowd. With his striking looks, people kept trying to chat him up, men included. Every time, he cursed them out, asking if they'd ever considered donating their eyes to someone who actually needed them. That night, I'd lost a card game with friends, and they pushed me to go hit on him. A bet was a bet. I sat down beside him. Hi? Can we get to know each other? Michael frowned, turned his head toward me, and froze. His cheeks flushed with an odd pink. Oh, why yeah, sure. We ended up talking for ages and exchanged contacts. My friends were dumbfounded. They thought that would be the end of it. But somehow, we actually ended up together. Now, Michael sat on the hospital bed, staring straight at me. Blushing, he stammered, Why you? You're my boyfriend. A complete 180 in attitude. Joshua turned, shocked by the look on Michael's face. Before I could answer, Michael pressed on, awkward and embarrassed. I'm sorry. I lost my memories and forgot some things about us. But I'm not the kind of person who shirks responsibility. I raised a brow and cut him off. You're overthinking. I'm not your boyfriend. He froze. Aren't you? Joshua said my boyfriend was coming. Isn't that you? He was joking. Michael immediately looked at Joshua, who shifted his gaze back and forth between us, then forced a laugh. Why yeah, I was just joking. Michael didn't suspect a thing. In his mind, it was impossible he'd ever date another man. The doctor had explained it was temporary amnesia from the concussion. His memory had reverted to 2 years ago, back when he was a freshman. That was before we even knew each other. To avoid shocking the so-called iron straight man, I decided not to reveal our relationship. Joshua agreed. He'd remember eventually. Michael sat up straight, eyes bright and clear, staring at me like an obedient student. Definitely amnesia. Before, even a scrape on his elbow was enough to make him throw himself into my arms for comfort. Now, he just sat there stiff and awkward. Shy, he asked, Then who are you? I'm your roommate, Steven. His eyes lit up. So we're classmates? No. I've already graduated. You rent a room from me. Michael blinked then, as if struck by some thought, flush red all the way to his ears. An odd kind of bashfulness filled his face. Oh, so we live together. No wonder I felt so close to you the moment I saw you. I smirked. Is that so? Joshua shut his eyes like he couldn't bear to watch. I brought the amnesiac Michael home. It was a Riverview apartment downtown, wide open and simply furnished. Michael gaped. Could I really afford to rent a place like this? I smiled. It's not as expensive as you think. Besides, you cover part of the rent by doing chores. He blinked at me, then shyly averted his eyes. You're so good to me, bro. Thanks for the compliment. I went to the kitchen to make dinner. He followed right behind, trying to steal the role of head chef. After I refused, he hovered nearby, eager to help like a little puppy circling its master for attention. Dinner was pasta. Out of habit, I scooped a spoonful of sauce and called Michael over to taste. How is it? to bland. He took a bite and his eyes lit up. Delicious. You're amazing. Bro, you can really cook. The truth was, I could only handle simple dishes. Michael was far more skilled in the kitchen. Usually, he was the one who cooked, but whenever I made something, he showered me with praise. I couldn't help but smile and try to spoonful myself. The flavor was just right. Michael froze at the sight of me tasting from the spoon he'd just used. His face flushed scarlet, eyes glued to my lips. He looked panicked, hesitant to look away, yet unable to resist staring. Bro, I glanced at him. What is it? He pressed his lips together, unable to say anything. It's nothing, really. He just kept blushing, silently staring at my mouth. I didn't think anything of it. After all, we kissed countless times before. Sharing a spoon was hardly worth mentioning. Michael stiffened when he saw me taste from the spoon. In an instant, his face turned crimson. He stared at my lips, flustered and unsettled, as though he wanted to look away but couldn't bear to. Even the tips of his ears were burning red. Bro, I glanced at him. What is it? He looked like he wanted to say something, but pressed his lips shut instead. It's nothing. Really. His eyes stayed fixed on my mouth, his face glowing scarlet. Out of habit, I noticed nothing strange. We had kissed more times than I could count. Sharing a spoon hardly seemed worth fussing over. After dinner, I finished washing up and poured myself a glass of water. Michael had already cleaned all the dishes. I looked around the apartment. Many of the things inside had only appeared after Michael moved in. To me, home had always just been a place to sleep. Nothing special. But now, it felt different somehow. I stood lost in thought for a moment, then remembered I had left my clothes in the bathroom. I turned back. The door swung open and there was Michael, stark naked. My sudden entrance caught him completely off guard. His eyes went wide with shock as he froze, not knowing what to do with his hands or feet. At 6'1", with broad shoulders, a trim waist, firm abs, and a sharp V-line, he was all lean muscle. My gaze trailed downward. I rubbed my fingertips together, suppressing the absurd urge to greet it. Lifting my eyes, I offered him an apologetic smile. Sorry, I didn't know you were in here. And no, it's fine. He stood blushing in the corner, as red as a boiled shrimp. Stripped bare, covering himself was useless and not covering himself was worse. I picked up the laundry basket and spotted his clothes piled neatly beside it. I'll wash these for you too. Talking to me while naked clearly embarrassed him to death, but I remained calm, as if it were nothing. Oh, okay, thanks. He handed me his clothes. I didn't move right away, my gaze lingering on the underwear he deliberately left aside. I frowned in puzzlement. Not washing that? Michael followed my gaze, and his face heated up again. Stammering, he blurted, No, you can't have that even if you want it. I blinked, nearly laughing aloud. Want it? His blush deepened. Lips pursed, he fidgeted awkwardly. I know, you actually like me, don't you? Otherwise, why would you rent me such an expensive place? And earlier, you shared a spoon with me, did my laundry, and looked at me down there like that. The more he spoke, the more flustered he became, spiraling into his own imagination until even his ears were scarlet. Even though you're really good to me, I still think this is all a bit fast. I've never been in a relationship before, so I don't really know. I couldn't hold it in. A laugh escaped me. Michael froze, looking at me in confusion. I suppressed my smile and explained, Relax. I don't have any designs on you. Renting you this place doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the money. Besides, you do chores for me. I'm sorry about sharing the spoon earlier. It won't happen again. And washing your clothes was just convenient. My eyes flicked downward, and I raised a brow with a teasing edge. As for staring at your little brother, think of it as appreciation. Now, go on with your shower. Sorry to interrupt. Michael went rigid. His face turned blue, then white, then red again like flashing neon lights. When I shut the door behind me, I could still hear him inside, groaning in mortified frustration. No doubt busy wishing he could crawl into a hole. When Michael first moved in, he stayed in the guest room. He pretended to be embarrassed about sharing a bed, playing the gentleman with a bit of hard to get. But within a few days, he revealed his true nature and latched onto my bed for good. The guest room still had a bed made up though, along with some of his things. Before Michael, I used to read before sleeping. After he came, that habit was replaced with nightly exercise. Now, with him acting the stranger again, I picked up my old habit of reading in bed. Just as I opened my book, there came a knock at the door. Michael's voice floated in. Bro, the light in my room seems broken. Do you have a spare lamp? I glanced at the table lamp by my bed. Take mine for now. I'll call someone to fix your light tomorrow. Okay. The words had barely left my mouth when the door opened. Michael walked in, eyes lowered, unable to meet my gaze. His ears, however, glowed bright red, still embarrassed about earlier, no doubt. Then his eyes caught on the half-open drawer of my bedside table. He froze. Inside were boxes of condoms and a few toys. He flicked a nervous glance at me, then surveyed the room. On the table by the window sat a half-finished bottle of red wine and 2 glasses. Clearly, 2 people had been here. Drinking in a bedroom meant only one thing. Michael bit his lip, then finally asked, "Bro, do you have someone?" His face was pale. The evidence was undeniable, so I answered frankly, "Yeah, I have a boyfriend. He's on a business trip." Worried he might overthink it, I added quickly, "So don't worry, I won't do anything to you." After all, he believed he was straight now. But instead of looking relieved, his expression darkened further. His face set, posture stiff, jaw tight, knuckles clenched around the lamp. Words caught in his throat until finally he forced out, "I see." He lifted the lamp and left. He didn't show much on the surface. Maybe he was reassured. I returned to my book. He had been gone less than 10 minutes when the door slammed open again. Michael stormed in, face flushed, chest heaving with anger. Michael's shoulders rose and fell violently, his face flushed crimson, lips pressed into a hard line. "Bro, stop lying to me, I already know the truth." I raised a brow, only mildly surprised. After all, the lie was full of holes. "Oh, pretty sharp of you." Closing my book, I removed my glasses and looked at him. "And what is it you want to say?" Michael clenched his fist, as if the words were hard to force out. "I'm being kept by you, aren't I? I'm your side lover, right?" "What?" I was stunned. "Why would you think that?" Michael's face held an expression of certainty, as if he had seen through everything. "There's no way I could afford a place this expensive. And it's only the 2nd month of summer vacation, there's no reason for me to be here. Unless your boyfriend's away on business, and you called me over to cheat with you. You even shared a spoon with me at dinner without thinking. And the way you looked at my body like you'd already seen it before. You weren't surprised at all." To my own dismay, his reasoning almost made sense. I couldn't imagine what kind of storm had been raging in his head during those 10 minutes outside. I remained silent, at a loss for words. He pushed on, eyes red, each word an accusation. "I'm right, aren't I? You've already gotten tired of me. My body doesn't excite you anymore. So now that I've lost my memory, you're trying to dump me." His voice grew more aggrieved, nearly shouting in my face. "I've been with you all this time. You bent me, and now you want to use my amnesia as an excuse to throw me away." He glared at me, unyielding, as if daring me to deny it. Our eyes locked. I sighed. "Seems you already know. Then there's nothing more for me to say." Michael's expression was as though he'd been struck by lightning. Even if he had suspected, hearing me admit it aloud still shook him. Furious, he stormed over to the window, grabbed the half-empty bottle of red wine and drained it. Then he yanked at his shirt, stripping it off in one go. Bare-chested, his broad back and chiseled abs were on full display. His eyes, red with emotion, fixed on me like a beast poised to pounce. "Since I'm your lover, then I'll fulfill my duty as one. Don't think you can get rid of me." He shoved me down, popping the buttons off my nightshirt. Afraid I might resist, he pinned my wrist and kissed me with a desperate hunger. His lips were cold, the taste of wine sharp between us. The alcohol fog seeped into my mind. I returned the kiss softly, instinctively. That gentleness cooled Michael's fury for a moment. His stormy kisses softened, turning tender. He freed one hand to rummage in the drawer, tearing open a condom with shaking fingers. Then he bit me in vexation, voice bitter. "He's this big. Aren't you afraid 2 of them would ruin you?" I hissed at the sting, then smirked. "Didn't I never let you go at it together? You wanted to. You'll be the death of me." Michael devoured me with lips and teeth, as if he had to taste every inch. I tugged at his hair, wrapping my legs around his waist. "Are you done? You really think I'm a bone to be gnawed on?" His eyes burned red. Holding my ankle, he muttered something under his breath. I arched a brow. "Say it louder." He shot me a glare, face aflame with embarrassment. "I don't know how to. You have to teach me." Heh. This time I couldn't hold it and laughter shook my shoulders. So much bluster, only to reveal he was all bark and no bite. Hearing me laugh, Michael flushed even deeper, but held back his temper. His Adam's apple bobbed as he stared at me, eyes dark as a deep abyss. I lost my memory. "Teach me, I'll learn fast." It was, strangely, the first time I ever guided him. The first time we'd been together, he had studied up on his own. Each move designed to make me comfortable. He always put my feelings first, always wanting to do his best for me. What I really wanted to tell him was that he didn't have to. Even if he wasn't perfect, I'd still love him. As promised, he learned quickly, his instincts sharp, his body remembering even what his mind forgot. He kissed me tenderly, hands steady at my waist, holding me as if I might break. His dark eyes locked on mine, a satisfied smile playing at his lips. Bro, you're trembling. Why aren't you smiling now? He reached back into the drawer and pulled out the toys. There are so many. It wouldn't be fair to leave any out. We'll try them all tonight. Pure revenge. And worse than Michael himself was Michael discovering indulgence for the first time. And I had to endure it all over again. Afterward, out of habit, I lit a cigarette. Michael leaned against my shoulder, whispering seductively. Bro, I did well, didn't I? Leave him, and be with me instead. How could I pass up teasing such a fool? Exhaling smoke, I watched the way his eyes softened as he gazed at me. Whenever I smoked, he'd look at me like that, cheeks flushed, sidling closer. Bro, you're so good looking, he'd murmur. I stroked his cheek, smiling. No, I only love my boyfriend. If he finds out about you, I'll have no choice but to leave you. He sulked, but didn't argue. Then I'll be your only lover. I still want to go again. Say yes, bro. The next day, I called in sick, because my jealous little husband had nearly wrung me dry. When I woke, he was already fiddling with his phone, ordering something. Toys. New ones. Why are you buying these again? He snorted, unashamed. What do you mean again? I threw out everything from yesterday. These will be new ours. Jealous to the core. A glance round showed the 2 glasses from the windowsill along with a few other things. Now in the trash. But the condoms in the drawer remained. Why didn't you throw those out? I asked. His lips curled in a mischievous grin. I'll use every single one. You can explain that to him yourself. The entire day he couldn't stop comparing himself to that imaginary boyfriend. First, flaunting his body, wandering around shirtless, flexing. Feigning a stomachache, he invited me to touch his ABS. Bro, my stomach hurts. Massage it for me. Then came his cooking. He said, at home, I'm always the one who cooks. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I don't play video games. Most importantly, I focus on family. I'd never go on business trips or leave loopholes for someone else to take advantage of. I arched a brow. But didn't you just take advantage of one? He didn't even flinch. Which is why I'm better than him in that regard. It was his mistake to give others an opening. I never make that mistake. His attitude had shifted from embarrassed to even mention being a side lover, to struggling with it, to accepting it outright, even analyzing it as if preparing for promotion. I had to admit, his adaptability was impressive. He even bought the novels, both about mistresses rising to the top, and studied them seriously. Taking notes. Everything had to be compared against my so-called boyfriend. For a day or two, I managed to endure. But with him clinging to me day and night, not even resting during the day, who could stand that? Still, begging mercy from a brat was out of the question. I began smoking slower and slower. Michael sat nearby, watching impatiently, torn between eagerness and frustration. Bro, can't you smoke faster? Otherwise, why don't you smoke while I do you at the same time? Do you know what my boyfriend's best trait is? He pouted, then couldn't resist asking. What is it? Self-control. Michael frowned, thought for a moment, then said, Then I can't compare. I'm your lover. This is what I'm supposed to do. During the work week, I could dodge him. But once the weekend came, there was no escape. I had to stay home under inspection. So I decided to take Michael out. He was full of energy, overflowing with vitality. Taking him out felt like taking a puppy out for a run. He even made me watch him play basketball, claiming he wanted to show off his charm as a younger, more energetic college guy. He dragged Joshua along. The two of them got caught up in the game at the park, while Michael still found time to show off for me. I watched for a while, then decided to run to the supermarket for drinks. When I came back, someone called out to me, Steven. I turned and saw a man in a white shirt and black slacks, smiling warmly. His nose straight and features refined. It really is you. I just moved here recently. What a coincidence. I nodded. Noticing the grocery bag in his hand, he must have just come from the supermarket too. Yeah, not bad. I wasn't much of a talker, never good at small talk. Harris chuckled helplessly, his eyes gentle. You're still the same. Can't you at least say a few more words? I'm not a stranger, I'm your ex, after all. I had met Harris through work, back when we were on opposite sides of a project. We were evenly matched, and our conversations flowed easily. From friends, things naturally developed into something more. We'd known each other 3 years, dated for over 1. We broke up because he was transferred abroad. He wanted me to go with him. I refused, and I didn't stop him from leaving. That night, we had a few drinks, chatting like old friends. Then I went to bed, and he left with his suitcase. Our breakup had been as natural as our beginning. I asked now, why are you back? Vacation. Harris shook his head. I quit. Why? He smiled at me. Because I realized I'd given up the most important gift in my life for work. I met his eyes. I have a boyfriend. Harris blinked, a little surprised, but not shocked. He didn't reply. Instead, he reached out as if to brush my bangs aside. I turned my head away. His hand froze midair, and he gave a wry smile. Do we really have to be so distant? I didn't contact you because I was afraid if we spoke, I'd regret it. I'd run back to you immediately. I left. But you didn't ask me to stay. I kept wondering if I just didn't matter to you at all. I stayed silent for a long moment before answering. It's not distance. It's boundaries. I have a boyfriend. I didn't address his real question. Harris gave a bitter smile. I see. The basketball court suddenly grew noisy. I turned to see Michael and Joshua no longer playing. They were by the fence, staring at us. Michael's face was tight, eyes sharp and cold. He was practically burning holes through Harris, but still didn't come closer. Joshua elbowed him, clearly telling him to step in. Michael frowned and muttered something back. Joshua gaped, shouting in shock. Dude, you never told me you were playing the side lover. Michael tugged at him, and Joshua lowered his voice, switching to tugging instead of shoving like he was holding Michael back. Harris glanced toward the sound, immediately noticing the furious young man glaring at him. That's your boyfriend? Yeah? Harris's lips curved. He looked at me and said, Can I come to your place for dinner tonight? Just to catch up. I said nothing. Harris's eyes lowered, his tone soft, almost pleading. My new place doesn't have a gas stove yet. I've been eating out every day since I got back. It's pitiful. Can't you let me come over, just as friends? I sighed. Just this once. His face lit up immediately. Great. I headed back to the court and handed bottles of water to Michael and Joshua. Why did you stop playing? Michael shot Harris a look, then growled, Someone invaded our home. Who can focus on the game now? Joshua rushed to smooth things over, laughing awkwardly. He's just kidding, just kidding. I introduced them quickly. This is Harris. These are Michael and Joshua. Harris already knew Michael was my boyfriend, so I didn't elaborate. After all, Michael was still acting from the side lover script. Harris smiled politely and nodded in greeting. Michael, however, barely concealed his disdain. Michael gave a disdainful snort. Joshua quickly tried to smooth things over, explaining that Michael had worn a sour face since childhood. Harris smiled politely, saying he understood. I had driven that day. Michael went straight for the passenger seat. Joshua was so startled he nearly froze on the spot. He tugged and pulled at Michael frantically, but Michael refused to budge. That left Joshua and Harris to sit in the back. Michael turned slightly and said, Sorry, I get carsick. It's more comfortable for me in the front. Harris smiled. It's fine. It's just, I've always sat there before, so it feels a little strange. Michael pressed his lips into a hard line, then gave a faint smirk. Then that means you can accept the back seat, while I can only accept this one. Harris gave a small smile and said nothing more. I was a little surprised, the corners of my mouth lifting. I hadn't expected Michael to be so combative. The air grew tense. From the back seat, Joshua was sweating buckets, trying to lighten things up with nervous laughter. He just likes the passenger seat, that's all. Don't read into it. Even as he spoke, he was hammering out messages on his phone, bombarding Michael's screen in desperation. When we got home, Harris paused at the doorway, looking faintly stunned. You've changed a lot. And indeed, compared to when he left, the apartment had changed. Back then, it had been cold, like a showroom. I never cared about these things. Harris, being considerate, never interfered. But then Michael had moved in. Suddenly, there were demands for flowers, rocking chairs, and all kinds of quirky little decorations. Carpets were laid down. Vases filled with fresh blooms. He had turned the sterile space into something warm and lived in. Harris lowered his eyes, rolled up his sleeves, and said with a gentle smile, I can't just come here for a free meal. Let me cook tonight. Help me out, will you? I frowned. That's not necessary. I can. He cut me off. Didn't we say just this once? Humor me. One last time. With a faint smile, he headed straight to the kitchen without even stepping into the living room, as though he couldn't bear to look. I turned toward the bathroom, intending to wash up quickly and then help in the kitchen. After all, letting a guest cook alone was rude. But just as I finished washing my hands, the door suddenly opened. I looked up in surprise. What are you doing here? Where's Joshua? Michael's face was pale with jealousy. Without a word, he pressed me against the sink and kissed me hard. That kiss was rough, filled with surging jealousy and quiet resentment. Between breaths, he still answered my question. He left. His breathing was heavy, his lips hot and insistent. carrying an undeniable force that allowed no refusal. And then he bit me. "Ah, what are you, a dog?" Michael pulled back with a look of satisfaction, eyes burning with jealousy. His voice was hoarse. "Bro, isn't this what you like? Otherwise, why did you choose me? Now that he's back, you don't want to look at me. Don't want to kiss me anymore, isn't that right? You still like him that much. I love you so much I've even settled for being your secret lover. And I still have to watch you flirt with him. While I have no name, no title. I don't even dare punch him because I'm terrified you'll leave me. I'm going insane here." The vinegar jar had been overturned completely. The illicit thrill only fueled the rush of dopamine. Breaths tangled, skin pressed close, his husky voice struck at every nerve. His lashes lowered as he stared at my lips, swollen and reddened from his kisses. "I don't mind you having a boyfriend. He minds you having me. So tell me, who loves you more?" I smirked. "True. But I told you I only love my boyfriend." Michael's gaze darkened, his teeth gritted. "Fine." His hand slipped under my shirt, lifting it to reveal pale skin marked with scattered bruises and bites. His fingertips pressed over a spot he had kissed and held countless times. That revealed everything, even the positions we'd used. His black eyes locked onto mine as he murmured, "If you don't want him to find out, then you'd better cover all of these, bro." With that, he stormed out of the bathroom, face like thunder. I froze for a moment, then let out a laugh. Strangely, it felt good. To soothe the toppled vinegar jar, I went to the kitchen just as he wanted. The smile on Harris's face stiffened the instant he saw me. It must have looked like my boyfriend was staking his claim, and I was perfectly fine letting him. Only Michael himself was still in the dark. Harris pretended not to notice. We cooked together as we used to, though with careful distance, just head chef and assistant. Michael wandered in and out, clearly trying to keep an eye on us. At the table, Harris sat down beside me. Michael had no choice but to take the seat across. Harris said softly, "It's been so long since we had a meal together. Out there, I was always alone, and every moment, I thought of you." Oh, he was lost in the past. But I wasn't listening. Across the table, someone's foot brushed against my calf. Michael, smug and deliberate, even reached over to place food in my bowl. Smiling, he said, "Bro, try this. Do you think it's overcooked, or do you prefer it tender?" On the surface, he was talking about food, but the implication was obvious. Harris, of course, caught it instantly. He smiled wryly. "What an amusing young man. When I was your age, I was already working in a company, building capital, laying the foundation for the future." Michael's brows drew together. Patience was not in his nature. If he had to endure any longer, Michael would probably flip the table. I cut in with a smile. "It's just personal choice. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters." Michael often said those words. As long as you're happy. The heart is naturally biased when you love someone. Everything about them seems good. Harris froze, then lowered his gaze with a faint smile. "Is that so?" He didn't push further. He understood what I meant. Michael, on the other hand, was brimming with smug satisfaction, piling my bowl with food, calling me bro at every turn. If he really were a side lover, he would have been beaten for that kind of arrogance. After dinner, Harris didn't linger. I walked him to the door. Michael hovered not too close, not too far, pretending to be subtle. But his spine was painfully obvious. He must have wondered why Harris didn't stay. Judging by his curious yet expectant look, he probably thought Harris and I were breaking up. Harris glanced at him and curved his lips in a wistful smile. "You've changed a lot because of him, haven't you?" I followed his gaze to that silly boy sneaking glances at me. The moment I caught him, he whipped his head around, pretending to study the wall. I said softly, "Cute, isn't he?" In Harris's deep eyes, bitterness flickered with resignation. He asked, "Tell me, if it were him, would you choose to stay by his side or would you let go?" He was still dwelling on that old question. Maybe he thought my choice not to follow him or to hold him back was proof of my indifference. But we were both adults. We had our careers, our goals. I wasn't going to give up mine, and I didn't want to hold him back from his. Parting had been the best choice. But when it came to Michael, suddenly, I didn't know how to answer. As I hesitated, Michael appeared at my side and quietly took my hand. His eyes were firm, glittering like a sky full of stars. "Bro's path doesn't need to change for me. I'll revolve around him like the moon around the sun. I won't force him to choose or make things hard for him. A true heart doesn't need instruction." I stared, stunned, my heartbeat pounding in my chest. Harris froze as well, as though something had dawned on him. Then he smiled, softly, with acceptance. "So that's how it is. I've lost." At the door, he said, "I wish you both happiness." Back then, I hadn't asked him to stay, and he hadn't fought to remain. But Michael was different. After Harris left, I turned and found Michael still holding my hand, his cheeks crimson, his eyes sparkling. Bro, you chose me, didn't you? I arched a brow. That's right. So, you'd better behave, understand? Overjoyed, he threw his arms around me, peach blossom eyes shining with delight. I'm so happy. I knew it, you liked me the most. When he was happy, he was full of energy. I realized something was wrong only when he started pulling me toward the bedroom. Wait, what are you doing? Michael's eyes burned, though he looked shy. From today on, I'm your boyfriend. We're together now. We have to celebrate. That's not necessary. It is. The newly crowned official boyfriend had all the flair of a courtesan. He spent his days seducing me, insisting it was to keep my attention from straying. Knowing he had risen from the role of side lover, he built walls of defense around me, guarding me jealously, leaving no cracks for anyone else. I told him he was going overboard, not everyone liked me. After all, he retorted that I was completely oblivious. From the moment he'd first seen me at the hospital, he liked me. Everything after was just plain hard to get. Fortunately, 2 weeks later, Michael's memory returned. The very first thing he did was storm up to me, face flaming red. Bro, how could you do that? I raised a brow, smiling. Do what? I only told you we were roommates. You're the one who insisted you were a side lover. Who knows what nonsense you had in your head? Michael knew he had overthought it back then. My words left him flustered, crimson spreading over his cheeks. Stammering, he muttered, But you still shouldn't have gone along with it. I was terrified you'd abandon me. I didn't even let Joshua near you. I asked him why, if he thought he was my secret lover. He never once considered he might be my boyfriend. He said, I just didn't think I was good enough for you. So the thought never crossed my mind. I laughed, giving him a mischievous look. So, you think being a side lover suits you better? Fine. You can keep that role. Michael flushed with anger and embarrassment, immediately pouncing on me to bite. I don't want that. I'm your boyfriend, your only boyfriend. No side lovers allowed. Looking at Michael red-faced, fierce, and clinging to me, I realized how deeply he'd carved himself into my life. What began as confusion and jealousy had become something unshakable. He wasn't my side lover. He was mine, loud, stubborn, irreplaceable, and I wasn't letting go.